They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So look at this one. There's a woman who appears to be naked, crouched on the ground as if she's cowering in fear, under attack. She's clearly being called some vile names: stupid, whore, dumb bee, even the C word. There's a little baby in a crib crying out for help. No, Pompey, stop, please. That baby is little Nico Brand. We know that because the drawing includes a threat. I will take Nico from you. Meet the artist behind the drawing, Houston Dr. Chris Brand.
There are times I feel like a failure because I wasn't able to protect my boy. I wasn't there in those moments when he was crying silently, wondering where his father was.
Dr. Brand has become a sympathetic figure in the media, even getting Congress to take his side in an international custody fight with his ex-wife, Marcela Guimarães, from Brazil. Maybe you'll also recognize his voice on this frightening audio tape.
You better answer the goddamn phone, Marcela. I swear to God, I'm going to destroy you if you don't answer the goddamn phone.
There is now documented evidence Marcela Guimarães wasn't just threatened, she was beaten. There are medical records, even email confessions.
And we had a really bad episode of violence at the house. He threatened me with the guns. I was really scared of my life and my son's life. He held me inside of the bedroom with my son, crying a lot.
This was not just a drawing. It was evidence of the nightmare Marcela Guimarães said she actually lived through, and she's got plenty of evidence to back it up.
Nico would scream and ask and say no, no, and ask for mommy too, and ask to stop. And he would not stop at all because he could not control his violence.
But this horror story doesn't end at serious evidence of domestic abuse. Just ask Jared Woodfield, who was appointed the lawyer to protect little Nico Brand's best interests in the couple's divorce case.
Carlos and Jemima Guimarães were found guilty.
Woodfield testified in the recent criminal trial of Marceli's parents, Carlos and Jemima Guimarães, who were found guilty of helping their daughter kidnap little Nico. Marceli was not allowed to testify in the trial, but is now speaking out after her parents were found guilty. We found this trial transcript. Quoting Rusty Hardin, "At the same time, you became aware of her allegations about domestic violence. Were you also aware and became aware of what she said in terms of Dr. Brand's addiction to pornography?" Jared Woodfield, yes. Rusty Hardin, would it be fair to say you were aware of her contentions about that from the beginning? Jared Woodfield, that would be fair. We also know Woodfield clearly saw these excerpts from Brand's own journal introduced in the divorce case. "Lock the door of my office," it read. "Log in on the Baylor site, pull my pants down around my ankles, and then go to the website. As soon as I lock the door, I can't wait to see naked girls." Surfing porn on the web is one thing, but what we're about to show you is clearly something very different.
I discovered that he used to go to the hospital in order to satisfy his sexual desires.
Here is Brand's own handwriting from therapy, stuff he shouldn't be doing. Quoting, using position of physician to see women naked. And this one, quoting, inappropriate contact with patients. Dr. Brand has not responded to a single email request we've made to interview him on camera. But one of his lawyers, Jared Genzer, he wanted to do an interview real bad. But when we finally decided we wanted to talk to him on camera too, he never emailed us again. But Mr. Genzer claimed those therapy circles really don't mean what you might think they do. Quoting, "You're supposed to include as many things as possible," he wrote us, "whether or not you had ever done them." One problem, Marcela Guimarães, in her first broadcast interview since she fled to Brazil 5 years ago, says that's exactly what Dr. Brand liked.
He would take advantage really of his position at Baylor to see them in bad situations and to sexually take advantage of these patients.
In April 2012, Gamaris had emailed a therapist hired by the couple. Quoting, "Might be worse than I thought," she wrote. "I'm in shock. And this is why." An email authored by Dr. Brand, practicing at Bentop Hospital. Quoting, "Was triggered by a patient. 22-year-old needed a pelvic exam. I asked one of the residents to do it. I've avoided all pelvic and breast exams since coming back from PCS." PCS? It's a psychological counseling service. And it's nice to know Dr. Brand was trying to behave himself, but what about before he went to therapy? In March of 2012, Brand wrote his wife, quoting, "Had to supervise one pelvic exam on a woman. I didn't do it, just had to be in the room." Glad there was just one, huh? Marcella Gamaris paints a picture that should frighten the heck out of Dr. Brand's current and former patients.
And I found out that he preferred to be at the hospital during the night because during night there are a lot of young girls that get drunk and that cannot understand what's going on. They are in a position that are very fragile, and he used to take advantage of that.
On April 30th, 2012, Brand wrote, quoting, "Felt very triggered all day, wanting to get on the internet. Really wanted to act out today, but I didn't." Aren't we all glad? On May 7th of 2012, Brand shared with his wife that he was now praying that he had no triggers that day. Why, you ask? Quoting, "No vaginal exams." Look, folks, I'm the first to admit this stuff is pretty disgusting, and we went round and round in the office about the balance between the right to privacy and the right of patients to know about doctors. And it was a pretty easy choice when you came down to it, because we care a lot more about the rights of patients who go to the charity hospital in Harris County than we do about Dr. Brand's feelings.
He's a huge threat to patients. He cannot control himself. He goes to work with that specific objective. He goes to work in order to see patients naked.
In September 2012, just months after those trigger emails, Gamaris finally filed for divorce. In November 2012, right after Brand tried to break into the house, Judge James Lombardino issued an order keeping him away from his wife and son. 4 days later, Dr. Brand hired Bobby Newman as his lawyer. His family and law firm were big financial supporters of Judge Lombardino.
Once Bobby Newman was hired, everything changed. There was nothing that I could do that would convince the judge to accept, even to look at everything that I had to give to him. And things just became more and more difficult for me.
In 2013, Gamaris kept warning the lawyers she was scared of Brand. In July of that year, she finally fled to Brazil.
We're going to turn next tonight to the alleged kidnapping case making international headlines now. The American father fighting to get back his 8-year-old son. His in-laws arrested as they flew into the U.S.
In the criminal trial of her parents, famed Houston lawyer Rusty Hardin tried to show Marcella Gamaris wasn't a kidnapper, just a woman running for her life to protect her and her son.
Any women in my situation would have done the same. They would have tried to protect their son, their children. They would do anything that would be in their power to protect them.
Many of the documents we've shown you were not allowed into the criminal trial of Marcella's parents, but it's clear the jury was curious anyway about the few things they did hear. They asked questions about domestic violence, including this one, quoting, "If a person accused of aiding and abetting international parental kidnapping believed the principal had been the victim of domestic violence at least once at any point in the relationship, are they not guilty?" Federal Judge Alfred Bennett wrote the jury back, They already had their instructions. Rusty Harden thinks the jury got it wrong.
These are two of the nicest, most incredibly supportive, good people that I can imagine. And I don't know what a grandparent was expected to do in this circumstance.
In the days before this broadcast, we notified Baylor Security of the documents we just showed you, even though some of them have been available at the courthouse in public record for 5 years. We thought Baylor should investigate and warn Bentop Hospital. You know what happened? The very next day, we got a phone call from Mr. Genzer, Dr. Brand's lawyer, complaining about all the stuff we had just told Baylor the day before. Instead of protecting their patients, Baylor decided to snitch us off instead. We think you should know about Baylor's conduct. When we complained, spokeswoman Lori Williams wrote us this, quoting, "BCM ensures that all faculty and staff adhere to the college's policies and code of conduct. The college does not comment on personal issues that do not involve the college." You would think the Baylor College of Medicine would have been so much more on alert, so sensitive to the potential of bad behavior, or at least bad publicity.
Dr. Shafiq Sheikh was found guilty yesterday. A rape kit tied him to the crime, and hospital cameras caught him on the same floor as a patient.
Just days after our call to Baylor, a jury convicted another former Baylor College doctor of raping a Bentop patient back in 2013. That was months after documents detailing Dr. Brand's domestic violence and possible use of Baylor computers to access porn had already been introduced in a court. Baylor could claim they never knew about the divorce case, even though it's been plastered on the news for years. But they clearly can't say now they weren't warned about the documents we've seen and the doctor's self-described triggers. It's time for the U.S. Justice Department to come clean. Did they know about all this stuff when they took the Gamaris family to court? Because it sure looks like all they were really trying to do was protect their own darn daughter.
And I wish I could tell them that they don't deserve that, and that I'm really sorry, and that I love them. Nico loves them a lot, and he missed them. He asks about them every single day. He asks about them, and that he cannot understand what's going on.